My daughter stood up at her wedding and said, "I want to thank the real man who raised me, my stepdad Mike." Everyone clapped while she looked right at me and added, "And thanks to my mom's first husband for the money over the years. Your job is done now." The room went silent. People stared. What I did next will shock you. Let me tell you the whole story. But first, thank you for watching Granny's Tales. We love sharing these real stories with you. Please subscribe and tell us what city you're from in the comments. Today's special shout-out goes to Maria Santos from Miami. We're so happy you enjoy our channel. Now, let's dive into this crazy story. I never planned to be anyone's hero. I just wanted to love and be loved back. When I married Sarah, her little girl Emma was only 5 years old. She had big brown eyes and the quietest voice you ever heard. The first time we met, she hid behind her mom's dress and peeked at me like I might run away. Her real dad had left when she was just 2. No phone calls, no birthday cards, no nothing. Sarah never talked about it much, but I could see the pain in her eyes. I had just sold my small business and was ready for a new chapter in life. I decided right then that loving Emma would be my purpose. I still remember the first time she hugged me. She was 7 and had a bad dream. She ran to my room crying and jumped into my arms. "Make the monsters go away," she whispered. I held her tight and promised her she would always be safe with me. That promise became everything to me. I meant every single word. From that day on, I made sure she had everything she needed and more. When other kids had regular birthday parties, Emma got princess parties with real ponies. When she wanted piano lessons, I bought her a beautiful piano and found the best teacher in town. When she struggled with reading in 2nd grade, I hired a special tutor who came to our house 3 times a week. She caught up and became one of the best readers in her class. I was so proud. Every school play, every soccer game, every award ceremony, I was there in the front row cheering louder than anyone else. I never missed a single important moment in her life. Sarah used to joke that I spoiled Emma too much, but I didn't care. I wanted her to feel special and loved every single day. When she turned 16, I surprised her with a brand new car. Not just any car, but the exact model she had pointed out in a magazine months before. Her face lit up like Christmas morning. "You're the best dad ever," she squealed and hugged me so tight. Those words made all the hard work worth it. I put money aside for her college from the day I married her mom. By the time she graduated high school, I had saved enough for any college she wanted to attend. She chose to study art at an expensive private school across the country. The tuition was huge, but I paid every penny without complaining. I even bought her a fancy laptop and all the art supplies she needed. During her college years, she would call me for advice about boys, school, and life. "You always know what to say, Dad," she would tell me. Those phone calls were the highlight of my weeks. When she graduated, I flew out for the ceremony and cried happy tears watching her walk across that stage. She had grown into such a beautiful, smart young woman. After college, she moved back home for a year while looking for a job. I helped her build a professional resume and used my business connections to get her interviews. She landed a great job at a marketing company downtown. I was so proud of her success. When she started dating Tom, a nice young man from her work, I welcomed him into our family with open arms. I could see he made Emma happy, and that's all I cared about. When Tom asked for my permission to marry Emma, I said yes immediately and gave him my blessing with tears in my eyes. The engagement was beautiful. I helped pay for the ring because I wanted Emma to have everything perfect. Planning the wedding became a full-time job for all of us. Emma had big dreams for her special day. She wanted flowers everywhere, a live band, fancy food, and a dress that cost more than most people's cars. I didn't say no to anything. Every time she showed me a new idea, I just smiled and said, "Whatever makes you happy, sweetheart." The wedding budget grew and grew, but I kept paying. This was my little girl's big day. The morning of the wedding, I woke up feeling so excited and nervous. I had been dreaming about this day for years, walking my daughter down the aisle and giving her away to a good man. I put on my best suit and tie, the same one I wore to my own wedding with Sarah. Emma looked like a princess in her white dress. When I saw her already, I started crying happy tears. "You look perfect," I told her. She smiled and said, "Thanks for everything, Dad. I love you." Those words filled my heart with such joy. I thought this would be the happiest day of our lives. The ceremony was magical. I walked Emma down the aisle feeling like the proudest dad in the world. Everyone was smiling and crying happy tears. When the priest asked who gives this woman to be married, I said loudly, "Her mother and I do." Emma squeezed my hand and whispered, "Thank you, Daddy." After she said her vows, we all moved to reception hall for dinner and dancing. The room looked like something from a fairy tale with flowers and lights everywhere. I sat at the head table feeling so grateful for my beautiful family. The dinner was delicious. Prime rib, lobster, and all of Emma's favorite foods. I watched her laugh and dance with her new husband, looking so happy and carefree. This was exactly what I had always wanted for her, pure happiness. When it came time for speeches, I was ready to stand up and tell everyone how proud I was of my daughter. But Emma didn't call on me. Instead, she called up Tom's dad first, then her maid of honor, then some college friends. Each person said nice things about Emma and Tom. I kept waiting for my turn, but it never came. Then Emma took the microphone herself. She thanked everyone for coming and talked about how special this day was for her. She thanked Tom's family for welcoming her. She thanked her friends for their support. Then she looked toward our table and smiled big. "Now I want to thank my family," she said. My heart started beating fast with excitement. Finally, it was happening. She was going to thank me in front of everyone. I straightened my tie and got ready to stand up when she called my name. But what happened next was not what I expected at all. "First, I want to thank my amazing mom," Emma said, looking at Sarah. "You're my best friend and my hero. I love you so much." Sarah started crying happy tears and blew Emma a kiss. Then Emma's voice got even bigger and more excited. "And now I want to introduce you all to the man who truly raised me, my real dad, Mike." She pointed across the room to a man I barely knew. Mike stood up and waved while everyone clapped. My heart stopped beating. Mike? Who was Mike? I looked around confused while people cheered for the stranger. Emma continued talking, her voice full of love and excitement. "Mike came into our lives when I was in college, and he showed me what a real father's love looks like. He's been there for every important moment, giving me advice and supporting my dreams. Mike, you're the dad I always wished I had." The whole room erupted in applause. People were standing up and cheering. I sat there feeling like someone had punched me in the stomach. College? She met this man when she was in college? How was that possible? I had been there for every important moment since she was 5 years old. Then Emma looked directly at me with a big fake smile. "And of course, I want to thank my mom's first husband for all the financial support over the years. Thanks for paying for everything. You did your job well." She actually winked at me like this was some kind of joke. The room got quiet. Some people looked confused. Others looked embarrassed for me. I felt my face turn red hot. Job? Financial support? Is that all I was to her? Just someone who paid the bills? My hands were shaking so bad I had to put down my glass before I dropped it. Sarah leaned over and whispered in my ear, "Don't make a scene. She's just excited." But I could barely hear her over the ringing in my ears. Emma kept talking about Mike, about how wonderful he was, about how he was her real dad now. Every word felt like a knife in my heart. I thought about all those years of bedtime stories, homework help, driving lessons, and heart-to-heart talks. Did none of that matter? Was I really just a wallet to her? I felt sick to my stomach. I needed to get out of there before I said something I would regret. I quietly stood up and walked out of the reception hall. Nobody noticed except a few people at nearby tables. I got in my car and drove home in complete silence. My mind was spinning with questions. When did Emma meet this Mike person? How long had Sarah known about this? Why didn't anyone tell me? I felt like my whole family had been lying to me for years. When I got home, I sat in my living room staring at all the photos of Emma growing up. Her first day of school, Her piano recitals, her graduation. I was in every single picture, but apparently I didn't matter. That night, I couldn't sleep at all. I kept hearing Emma's words over and over again. Thanks for paying for everything. You did your job well. Job? Is that what being a father was to her? Just a job? I had loved that little girl with my whole heart for 20 years. I had sacrificed my own dreams and worked extra hours to give her everything she wanted. I had been there for every scraped knee, every broken heart, every triumph and failure. But in her mind, I was just a man who paid the bills while some stranger was her real dad. The next morning, I called my lawyer. I want to change my will. I told him, take him out of everything. Give it all to the children's hospital instead. He was shocked. Are you sure about this? It's a lot of money. I was sure. If Emma wanted Mike to be her real dad, then Mike could take care of her future. I also canceled the credit card I had given her for emergencies. If she was truly independent now, she wouldn't need my financial support anymore. I wasn't being mean. I was just accepting the reality she had made clear at her wedding. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. I just quietly removed myself from Emma's financial life the same way she had removed me from her emotional life. It felt strange but also freeing. For 20 years, I had been worried about Emma's future, making sure she had money for college, for emergencies, for whatever she might need. Now that weight was off my shoulders. Someone else could worry about her now. The man she called her real dad could handle all the responsibilities that come with that title. I was finally free to live my own life. Emma called me 3 days later. She sounded confused and a little annoyed. My credit card isn't working, she said. Can you call the bank and fix it? I took a deep breath. I canceled it. I told her simply. There was a long silence. Then she asked, why would you do that? I explained that since she had her real dad now, she probably didn't need help from her mom's first husband anymore. She got quiet for a moment, then said, that speech was just for fun. You know I didn't mean it like that. But I knew she did mean it exactly like that. Emma, I said calmly, you stood up in front of 200 people and told them that another man was your real father while I was just someone who did his job by paying for things. I'm simply accepting what you said as the truth. She started getting upset. You're being ridiculous. It was just a speech. But I wasn't being ridiculous. I was being honest. For the first time in 20 years, I was seeing our relationship clearly. She had never seen me as a real dad, just as a provider, a backup plan, someone who did the dirty work while Mike got all the credit and love. Emma tried to argue with me for a few more minutes, but I had made up my mind. I wish you and Mike all the happiness in the world. I told her. I'm sure he'll take good care of you now. Then I hung up the phone. Sarah called me an hour later, screaming about how I was ruining Emma's life over a silly speech. But it wasn't silly to me. It was the most honest thing Emma had ever said about how she really felt. I had finally heard the truth, and the truth was that I had been fooling myself for 20 years thinking I was her real dad. Over the next few weeks, Emma tried calling me several times. She left long voicemails explaining that she was sorry, that she didn't mean to hurt my feelings, that I was important to her. But her words felt empty now. She was only sorry because her credit card got canceled and her inheritance was gone. If I was really important to her, she wouldn't have embarrassed me like that in front of everyone. She would have thanked me in her speech instead of calling me her mom's first husband. Actions speak louder than words, and her actions at the wedding spoke very clearly. A month later, Emma showed up at my house unannounced. She looked tired and stressed. We need to talk, she said. I let her in, and we sat in the living room where we used to watch movies together when she was little. I made a mistake, she began. I hurt your feelings, and I'm sorry. But cutting me off completely? That's not fair. I looked at this young woman who I had raised as my own daughter, and I felt sad but not angry. Emma, I said gently, you didn't hurt my feelings. You told me the truth about how you see me. She started crying. You are my dad. I love you. But I shook my head. No, Emma. Mike is your dad. You said so yourself in front of everyone. I was just a guy who paid for things while you were waiting for your real dad to show up. She cried harder. That's not true. You raised me. You were there for everything. I nodded. Yes, I was. But apparently, that didn't make me your real dad in your heart. And that's okay. I understand now. She begged me to forgive her and go back to the way things were, but I couldn't. The trust was broken forever. After Emma left that day, I felt peaceful for the first time in months. I had been carrying around so much hurt and confusion, but now everything was clear. I wasn't angry at Emma anymore. She was young and maybe didn't fully understand how much her words had hurt me, but I also couldn't pretend that nothing had happened. She had shown me exactly where I stood in her life, and I had to accept that truth. Sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes people can love you, but still not value you the way you deserve to be valued. I started spending my time differently. Instead of worrying about Emma's future, I focused on my own happiness. I started traveling, something I had always wanted to do, but never had time for because I was busy working to pay for Emma's expenses. I visited Europe, took a cruise, went hiking in national parks. For the first time in 20 years, I was living for myself instead of for someone else. It felt strange, but also wonderful. I met new people, made new friends, tried new hobbies. I discovered parts of myself that I had forgotten existed because I'd been so focused on being a dad. People who knew our story had different opinions about what I did. Some thought I was being too harsh, that I should have forgiven Emma and moved on. Others understood why I needed to protect myself from more hurt. I didn't really care what anyone else thought. This wasn't about punishment or revenge. This was about self-respect. I had given 20 years of my life to someone who saw me as a provider, not a parent. Now I was finally free to be myself again instead of just being someone's wallet. It was scary, but also exciting to start this new chapter of my life. 6 months after the wedding, I heard through mutual friends that Emma and Tom were having money problems. Apparently, Mike wasn't as financially supportive as they had expected. Emma had gotten used to having someone else pay for everything, and now she was struggling to budget and save money on her own. Part of me felt sad hearing this news, but I didn't reach out to help. She had made her choice about who her real dad was, and now she had to live with the consequences of that choice. Real parents don't abandon their children when times get tough, so I was sure Mike would figure out how to help her. A year later, Sarah filed for divorce. Apparently, her relationship with Mike wasn't working out as well as she had hoped. She tried to reconcile with me, claiming that she had made a terrible mistake and wanted to start over. But I had moved on with my life. I had learned to be happy on my own, and I wasn't interested in going back to a situation where I felt unappreciated and taken for granted. Sarah was angry that I wouldn't take her back, but I had finally learned to put my own happiness first. Some bridges, once burned, can never be rebuilt. Emma reached out to me on Father's Day that year. She sent a card that said, "To the man who will always be my real dad." But it was too little, too late. The time for those words had been at her wedding, in front of all those people, when it would have mattered. Sending a card a year later felt like an empty gesture, something she did out of guilt rather than genuine love. I appreciated the thought, but it didn't change anything between us. Some wounds are too deep to heal, and some trust, once broken, can never be fully repaired. I started volunteering at the local children's hospital, the same place where I had redirected my inheritance. Working with sick kids gave me a new purpose and helped me remember why I had loved being a father so much. These children appreciated every small kindness, every moment of attention, every bit of care they received. Unlike Emma, they didn't take love for granted. They understood the value of having someone who cared about them. Spending time with these kids healed something in my heart that Emma's words had broken. I felt useful and needed again, but in a healthier way. 2 years after the wedding, Emma had a baby. Sarah called to tell me the news and asked if I wanted to visit my granddaughter. But I wasn't the grandfather. Mike was. Emma had made that very clear at her wedding. I sent a nice baby gift to be polite, but I didn't visit. I had learned my lesson about getting too attached to people who might someday decide I wasn't real family after all. It was sad to miss out on being a grandfather, but I had to protect my heart from more potential hurt. Some choices have permanent consequences, and Emma's wedding speech was one of those choices. People sometimes ask me if I regret raising Emma, if I feel like I wasted 20 years of my life. The answer is complicated. I don't regret loving her or taking care of her. She was an innocent child who needed a father, and I was happy to fill that role. But I do regret not setting better boundaries, not requiring more respect, not teaching her to appreciate what she had. I was so focused on making her happy that I forgot to make sure she understood the value of what I was giving her. In trying to be the perfect dad, I failed to raise a grateful daughter. The hardest part wasn't losing Emma. It was losing the dream of Emma. For 20 years, I had imagined a future where she would call me on holidays, bring her children to visit Grandpa, include me in family celebrations, and remember me fondly as the man who loved her when no one else would. That future disappeared in one wedding speech. I had to grieve not just the relationship I had lost, but also the relationship I had thought we would have. Dreams can be harder to let go than reality because they feel so real in your heart. 3 years have passed since that wedding day. I'm living a completely different life now. I have new friends, new hobbies, and new goals. I travel when I want to, spend money on myself without guilt, and make decisions based on what makes me happy rather than what someone else needs from me. It's a peaceful life, even if it's sometimes lonely. I've learned that being alone is better than being with people who don't truly value you. I'd rather have no family than a fake family that only sees me as useful instead of loved. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if Emma had thanked me in her wedding speech instead of embarrassing me. Would we still be close today? Would I be playing with my granddaughter right now? But I try not to think about those what-if questions too much. They don't change anything, and they only make me sad. The truth is that Emma showed me her real feelings that day, and I'm grateful to finally know where I stood. Living in a fantasy where someone loves you more than they actually do is worse than living in reality where you know the truth, even if the truth hurts. Last month, I ran into Tom at the grocery store. He looked uncomfortable when he saw me, but he stopped to chat. He told me that Emma talks about me sometimes, that she misses our relationship and wishes things could go back to the way they were. But he also admitted that she's never fully understood why her wedding speech hurt me so much. She still thinks I overreacted to a harmless joke. That conversation confirmed what I already knew. Emma and I see that day very differently. To her, it was a funny moment. To me, it was a moment I realized I had been fooling myself for 20 years. I don't hate Emma. I'm not angry with her anymore. I understand that she was young and thoughtless, and she probably didn't mean to hurt me as badly as she did. But understanding someone's actions doesn't mean you have to accept them or continue to put yourself in a position to be hurt again. Forgiveness doesn't always require reconciliation. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for everyone involved is to step away and let them live their lives without you. That's what I've done, and it's brought me peace even though it's also brought me sadness. The children at the hospital have become my real family now. They call me Grandpa Joe, and their faces light up when I walk into their rooms. They appreciate the books I read to them, the games I play with them, and the treats I bring them. These kids understand the value of kindness because they've experienced what it's like when people don't care. They've taught me that real love is about gratitude, respect, and mutual care, not just about who pays the bills or who has the legal titles. Being with them has reminded me what healthy relationships should feel like. If I could give advice to other parents in similar situations, it would be this. Love your children, but also teach them to value that love. Don't be so focused on making them happy that you forget to help them become good people. Set boundaries. Require respect. Make sure they understand that relationships are about giving and taking, not just taking. And if they someday show you that they don't truly appreciate what you've done for them, don't be afraid to step back and protect your own heart. You deserve to be valued, not just used. Looking back, I realized that Emma's wedding speech was actually a gift, even though it didn't feel like one at the time. It forced me to see the truth about our relationship and gave me the push I needed to start living for myself instead of for someone who didn't truly appreciate me. Without that painful wake-up call, I might have spent the rest of my life being taken for granted. Now I'm free to build relationships with people who actually value me, and that freedom is worth more than all the money I spent on Emma over the years. Today, I'm genuinely happy. Not the kind of happiness that depends on other people treating you well, but the deep contentment that comes from knowing who you are and what you deserve. I have friends who appreciate me, hobbies that fulfill me, and a sense of purpose from my volunteer work. I sleep well at night, knowing that I'm living authentically instead of trying to earn love from people who can't or won't give it freely. Emma is living her life with Mike as her father figure, and I'm living mine as a free man. We're both better off this way. Sometimes people ask me if I would do it all over again. Would I still marry Sarah and raise Emma knowing how it would end? It's a hard question to answer. The love I felt for that little 5-year-old girl was real and pure. The joy I got from watching her grow up was genuine, but the pain of being discarded so carelessly was also real. I think I would make different choices. I would set better boundaries, require more gratitude, and not sacrifice my own identity so completely. But I don't completely regret the experience because it taught me valuable lessons about love, respect, and self-worth. The most important lesson I learned is that you can't love someone into loving you back the way you deserve. You can give everything you have, sacrifice your own dreams, and put someone else's happiness above your own, but that doesn't guarantee they'll appreciate it or value you properly. Real love has to be mutual. It has to involve respect, gratitude, and genuine care from both sides. One-sided love isn't really love at all. It's just devotion, and devotion without appreciation becomes a form of emotional slavery that benefits no one. I want to end this story by saying that I don't regret walking away from Emma. Some people might think I should have tried harder to work things out, that I should have forgiven her and moved on, but I tried for 20 years to earn her genuine love and respect, and her wedding speech showed me that I failed. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit that a relationship isn't working and walk away before it destroys you completely. I'm not a victim in this story. I'm a man who finally learned to value himself as much as he valued others. To anyone watching this who has been taken for granted by family members, remember that you deserve better. You deserve to be appreciated, not just used. You deserve gratitude, not just expectations. And you deserve to be seen as a real person with feelings, not just as provider or problem solver. Don't be afraid to set boundaries or walk away from relationships that only take from you without giving back. Life is too short to spend it begging for scraps of appreciation from people who should be grateful to have you in their lives. The Children's Hospital where I volunteer is getting a new wing next year, funded partly by my donation. It will be called the Healing Hearts Wing, and it will help kids who are dealing with family problems as well as medical issues. These children understand what Emma never learned, that love is precious and should be treasured, not taken for granted. Working with them has shown me that my capacity for love wasn't wasted on Emma. It just needed to be redirected to people who could appreciate it properly. Sometimes losing one family helps you find a better one. I still keep that photo of Emma's 5th birthday party in my desk drawer, not because I'm holding on to false hope, but because it reminds me of a time when our love was pure and uncomplicated. That little girl really did love me, even if the adult she became couldn't value what we had shared. I don't look at the photo often, but knowing it's there gives me peace. It reminds me that the love I gave was real, even if it wasn't ultimately reciprocated in the way I had hoped. That love was still worth giving because it made me who I am today. My advice to parents watching this is simple. Love your children completely, but don't lose yourself in the process. Teach them to be grateful, respectful, and kind. Show them that relationships require effort from both sides. And remember that your worth as a person isn't determined by how much your children appreciate you. You are valuable simply because you exist, not because of what you can do for other people. If your children can't see that value, it says more about them than it does about you. Don't let anyone, even family, make you feel less than you are. In the end, Emma's wedding speech gave me the greatest gift of all, my freedom. Freedom from wondering if I was doing enough, giving enough, loving enough. Freedom from walking on eggshells around someone who never truly appreciated me anyway. Freedom to live my own life, instead of always living for someone else. That speech hurt more than anything else in my life, but it also set me free. Sometimes the most painful truths are also the most liberating ones. I'm grateful for that pain because it led me to this peace. So that's my story. A daughter who forgot to value the man who raised her, and a father who finally learned to value himself. Was I right to walk away? Should I have tried harder to fix things? I can't answer that for anyone else. All I know is that I'm happy now in a way I never was when I was constantly trying to earn someone's love and appreciation. I hope Emma is happy too with the father she chose. And I hope that anyone watching this who feels unappreciated will find the courage to value themselves enough to make the changes they need to make. What do you think? Was I right to cut ties with Emma after her wedding speech? Or should family always forgive and forget? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever had to choose between your peace and your family? Your stories matter to us here at Granny's Tales. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe for more real family stories that make you think. Until next time, remember, you deserve to be valued, not just used.